Straight facts, no chaser. Vivek Ramaswamy had Ann Coulter on his podcast. Let's listen.
There's an N word that you're not allowed to say anymore, but I'm going to say it. Nationalist.
Stop right there. You never hear people play with the phrase Holocaust. They don't play with it. They don't make jokes out of it. They don't use it as a pun. They don't use it to get people to get interested in whatever they're doing. It's not a marketing tool. But for some reason, this dipshit uses the N-word as a fucking tool to get people excited about what he's about to say, to play on it, and then come up with nationalism. And he thought that was clever to use the trauma that black people go through back then and even to today as a tool to get people to watch him. What audience would want you to say something like that? Sure as fuck ain't the black audience. Therein lies the rub. He knew, as well as the people who watch him knows. He plays with racism and hatred of black people. And he'll end up finding out that nationalism does not mean him. But let's continue listening to what he has to say.
It doesn't have to be a bad word. We got to distinguish between two different kinds of nationalism. The first is ethno-nationalism. That's the kind people usually think of. And it's natural because most nations' identities have been built around an ethnicity or a religion or a monarch. And in that case, the track record of history hasn't been great for what that type of nationalism produces, either for a country or for its neighbors. Distinct from that, though, is civic nationalism. And that's the kind of nationalism that I think is relevant in the United States of America because our country is defined not based on an ethnicity, not based on a language or a monarch or a cuisine or a religion, for that matter.
What the fuck are you talking about, Vivek Ramaswamy? Civic nationalism. Who the fuck is talking about that but you? Everything these Republicans and racists have been talking about is white nationalism. But you're on here trying to convert that into civic nationalism. Tell me who else is speaking about that. Not one soul. But carry on. I want to hear more about this civic nationalism that these Republicans and white people care so much about.
Our country is defined on the basis of a civic set of ideals that brought together a divided polyglot and, yes, religiously diverse group of people 250 years ago. And so I don't think that that's the kind of nationalism we need to run from. I think we believe in the exceptionalism of those ideals. That's what American exceptionalism is about. It is a belief in the exceptionalism of the ideals that made this country great the first time around.
Let me get this straight, Vivek Ramaswamy. You said when America was great the first time around. Well, in 1619, they wouldn't even allow your people to set foot on American soil. Was it great then? In the 18th century, you guys weren't even allowed to step into this country. Was that when it was great? Oh, in the 19th century, for the most of it, you still was excluded. It wasn't until the end of the 19th century that they would allow people who looked like you to set foot on American soil. That's when you were allowed to immigrate. In the late 19th century, then the early 20th century, 1917, they created the Asian Exclusionary Act and many other laws and policies to exclude people who look like you from Asia and India specifically. Was that when America was great? I wonder when. Oh, it wasn't until 1965. I wonder who was fighting for the Immigration and Nationality Act in 1965 to allow people who look like you to finally enter the country and celebrate the rights that we all had, but you. I'm confused. See, the white people that you tap dance for are talking about make America great again. Are they specifically talking about the time in which you were not allowed to come in this country? Could be. I love watching you do this. You are getting pimped. And you think because they allowed you to make a little money that they've invited you into the club. Well, hold on a second. Someone who doesn't have the money you have is about to put you in what they consider your place. And I want to know how you respond to that. But first, I want to see how you respond to how they talk about black folk. You know those people who fought for civil rights and immigration laws so that your people could come here?
It's Ann Coulter. So, Ann, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. So I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun.
Yeah.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory.
That right there. Did you catch it? When she was being disrespectful and downright racist toward black people, saying that you can't call a black person articulate and smart because it's just something that you can't do to them, they get offended. Vivek Ramaswamy smiled, showed every tooth. She lit his ass up with joy. Why would he have joy about her degrading black folks? Because it lifts him up in his mind. In that moment, she downgraded black people and in his mind, lifted up Indian people himself. That is why this man was so elated, so excited to show every fucking one of his white painted teeth when she disrespected black folks. The same black folks that fought so his Indian ass could even come to this motherfucking country. The disrespect is just fucking blaring. What did black people ever do to this man for him to hate them so much that he would get into this gang of motherfucking Republican KKK members instead of being on the side of those who fought so his ass could come here and enjoy the American dream? White people didn't want you here, bro. That's why they want you to go back. Make America great again is to take your ass away from this country, not to enjoy it, to leave. They're regretting the fact that they put out the 1965 Act. And if they can, they will rescind that bitch. And you're sitting here on the enemy side as if you don't know you're dancing with wolves. Let's keep listening.
And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that that's an interesting tour through that historical lane, but I want to pick on one point you said, which is citizenship, right? Let's talk about what does it mean to be a citizen of a nation. And it's interesting, if a lot of people trip up on this, they'll say, well, it means what you get, right? Do I get to vote or do I get some other claim? And that doesn't really work. Actually, if you look through most of American history, for example, women were citizens long before women could vote, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not about what you get. In my book, and I think that this is true with the American conception of citizenship, I think it's true of the Roman conception of citizenship, is it's about your loyalty, actually.
Yes.
To whom do you actually pledge loyalty? And so I think you and I share that in common, actually. I don't know, I've never asked you this, Ann, but I assume from seeing the things you said, tell me if I'm right about this, you're probably against the existence of dual citizenship as a concept. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yes. You and I share that in common.
Outrageous.
So you see what kind of man this is. She just said, because you are an Indian, you would never get her vote. Not because you weren't loyal to America. Not because she thought that you just weren't capable of doing the job. No, you cannot have it because you're Indian. Point fucking blank. I'll never understand why people like you and my people run over to a party that gives a fuck about your color of skin. The content of your character don't fucking matter. They literally say they won't vote for you because you are not Anglo-Saxon. And you try to find some commonality with a racist. She doesn't agree on your fucking existence, bro. And you're trying to come to agreement on other topics. Fuck her. 100% fuck her. That's what I would have said to her and ended this bullshit. Because there ain't enough money in the world for me to promote a racist just for fucking ratings. This would have ended right there. And here's another shocker for y'all that I'm gonna venture out into. I think the most loyal culture to America are black folks. Because America's given us no reason to love this motherfucker. They're giving us every reason, not only to hate it, but hate everybody in it that's giving us fucking hell. And instead, we still try to find peace. We still try to find the American dream. We still try to find equality. And we do it with grace, love, and still we have more than a modicum of respect for every culture until you give us reason not to. That right there is a love of this fucking country. Stop giving some white people what they think they deserve and they hate America. They start trying to make it a different country than it actually is. They want to go back to some place because right now they don't feel like they're loved or respected like they used to be. And you love this country more? How? You're willing to destroy it because it's not going your way. That ain't love. The moment you got a chance to stand up for her, you tried to tear her down. White nationalists, black sellouts, Indian sellouts. You were all there at this motherfucking Capitol trying to destroy the country you claim to love so much, based off of lies and hatred. And you love the country. I call bullshit. White supremacy doesn't love this country. They love being in power of a country. They love being treated, even the lowest of them, like they're better than somebody, not on the basis of their content or character, purely on the basis of the color of their skin. And when they started to feel like the color of their skin is more hated than celebrated, they tried to burn this bitch down. You call that love? If you don't worship me, fuck it all. Helps you understand colonization. It's either the white way or no way at all. I speak facts. Straight facts. No chaser. Fuck your feelings.